Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Strategic Project Leader. Yes, we are coming at you live, and I'm so excited because today we're going to be talking about something great and awesome. We're going to be talking about how you can leverage this key skill that a lot of project managers and professionals actually really lack. And so I'm your host, Fola Alabi, and we're going to be diving deep into this. Before we even go any further, I want to know where exactly are you joining us from? Let me know that in the comment. I know I had a problem. Let me just be sure that I have been able to connect this to LinkedIn. There just seems to be a bit of a glitch, but I would make sure that I can fix this now. But if you actually join us from Facebook and YouTube, let me know if you can actually see me or hear me live. I think that we're kind of connected now on LinkedIn. That's right. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about two key skills and an actual bonus. I have an exceptional leader who has actually helped organizations leverage this skill over the years, and she has helped them transform, from where they're at to where they definitely want to get to. And I've got Laura. I want to just talk a little bit about her before I bring her live on screen today. So Laurel Sim is a partner, as well as the thing that she's actually even served on the board for PMI for my chapter, where I'm actually on the board as well. She's a partner and a vice president for portfolio management for Trello Project Services. She's an award-winning senior project executive and a management consultant for over 2 decades. She's got a proven track record of increasing business efficiencies. And so we're going to be diving into that and talking about efficiencies, but we want to zone in and talk about how we could think about critical thinking as well as dealing with ambiguity. So help me welcome Lauren. Lauren, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you this morning?
My goodness, it's awesome. It's actually afternoon here. I am joining you live all the way from Africa in Morocco this wonderfully sunny afternoon. It's 46 degrees and extremely sunny, so you don't even want to know. So I think let's get into it. We had a bit of a problem on LinkedIn, but let us know if you actually can see and hear us live on LinkedIn, because there seemed to have been a delay because we had some challenges coming on live this morning. But let's get into it. Just let us know first off, what brought you into the world of project management? How did your journey into projects start?
Yeah, I would say I was similar to most people, where you jump into it by accident. And so for me, when I finished my degree in computer science, I started out as a business analyst and a project coordinator, and I was a developer, really nerdy, really painful, terrible at development, by the way. Lots of good people out there that are good at it, not me. And then, lo and behold, somebody said, "Hey, you're terrible at development, but you really get the team together." And I'm like, have I found my place? Have I found my people? And I did. So that's kind of how I got onto the journey. And then I started working for very large organizations, consulting organizations like Fujitsu Consulting, KPMG, that sort of thing, and really became a well-rounded management consultant, not just project manager.
Can you hear me now?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. I said that you were just probably one of like thousands and maybe even millions of PMs out there who were accidental project managers. They kind of, got in a role, and there was a project that actually needed to be executed, and they were brought on board to say, can you deal with this? But I know that there must have been some key things that you were honing in for a while that you had to bring to the table that helped you excel as a PM. And I know that your journey has actually moved and transcended, really vertically. And so what would you say some of those key skills that you have actually had and probably kept improving, what are they?
So I would say that the biggest part is that we have to be more than the project. So you have to live outside of that box. I think we've talked about this in the past, where you have to break the box. We have to be thoughtful, curious, and creative. As well as looking at the entire organization, not the individual project, or just the individual project.
That's right. I think that piece around being really strategic is one that we keep, coming back to over and over, because a project is just a piece of the pie. And I can see some people actually just joining us now. So I think we're live on LinkedIn now. That's awesome. Let us know where you're actually joining us from. Yes, I said it's 46 degrees C, pretty hot, not actually minus. I'm talking about on the plus side. So it's baking like an oven, even probably hotter than that. So yes, so we're going back to our conversation. Yes, being more than just a project manager or looking beyond your role, even if you're not a PM, is one that I've seen over the years that has really helped professionals stand out and become successful through their careers. But I know today we want to really pick on two key skills. There's so many, but today we want to talk about critical thinking. A lot of the times when we go to university or you're going to get a project management certification, you learn how to plan, you learn all the different, pieces around the life circle. You even learn how to deal with stakeholders. However, critical thinking is not a subject that actually really ever comes up. Because when I go back to my university days, because I had philosophy as my first degree, and I think about the critical thinking class, I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I doing here? So let's really dive into that, Lauren. Through your career, how can we get into becoming critical thinkers?
Yeah, I would say that critical thinking it shows up in the bad times. It doesn't show up in the good times. Everybody's happy in the good times. So it's very intense. It's very stressful. And the one thing that can balance you is your critical thinking capability. Early in my career, there was a mentor that I had. We still have mentors, by the way. It's like, they're so fantastic. But she introduced VUCA to me, and I know so many people on this podcast today understand VUCA, have heard of it, and embrace it. But I want to talk about it for a quick moment for those who haven't incorporated it into their career path, into their daily living. So VUCA was established in the Army days, and it stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And so imagine if you were in under fire and you had this team behind you and you had to tell them, we're going to go left now. We're all going to go to the left. What if you don't have the right answer? Well, that's what VUCA is all about, right? Like, that's what it's all about, is saying, I will make the best decision with the data I have in the moment that I have it, but we need to make a decision. We need to reassess these types of things. And I think that's a big part about what makes critical thinking so important and useful for your career path.
Okay, I think we're getting a little bit of an echo. We're going to try and fix that. So we're going to just test the audio. I know the comments are coming in. There's a little bit of an echo. So we're going to switch it just for a little bit while we actually sorting this whole technical pieces out. Can you just let us know in the comments as well? From my side, can you hear me clearly? And maybe we could just switch things a little bit and just keep going as well. Thank you so much, Lauren. We are just talking about the VUCA world. The fact is, the world we live in today is extremely complex. And apart from the complexities that we face, all the different elements of it are also ambiguous, right? You're like different market conditions. You have a customer probably who wants a specific piece of work done, but all the different components are pretty vague. And then you're dealing with different foreign currencies as well that you have to do with, depending if you're a global organization. There's so many elements. How does critical thinking now come into place? The thing about project managers now who, want to elevate and they feel that, where do I really start? How do I, embrace this VUCA world and leverage critical thinking skills to help elevate and become better, Lauren? I know you've risen up so fast as well through your career. How can we, become better critical thinkers, and what steps can actually be taken?
Well, I would say that the number one thing I think the echo happens with me. It just says a pause. It happens with me. When you go on mute, I find that it goes away. Okay. Yeah, I think we might have solved it, but I don't know. Everybody tell us. Okay. So with critical thinking, the number one thing is we have to remain curious. And I know that feels like a common storyline these days. Oh, space for curiosity, remain curious. But it's real. And I don't know how else to describe it to you other than the more curious you are, the more you will understand about the people, about the organization, and about the problems that they are trying to solve. You're in there for a very specific reason to do a very specific job. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't understand the entire picture, that you shouldn't be actually the picture frame itself holding the picture together. And the only way you can do that is be curious, ask questions. One of my favorite approaches for asking questions is the 7 whys, the cause and effect, to get that deeper understanding. And if you ask why, you have to do it, delicately, because some people get quite annoyed by being asked why 7 times. But if you continue to ask why does this matter? So why did that affect it? Why is this causing that? You will get an abundance of information. And if you do that by every stakeholder, by your sponsor, by people that are impacting your project that are not involved in your project, you will learn so much so fast.
I love the 7 whys. And I think, when you think about our kids, they are the ones that practice that so much. You ask them, oh, I want to, why shouldn't you do it? They're like, why, mommy? They keep asking the questions until they get into the core of what they really want to get from us. And so the questioning and saying, why should we do this? What are the risks involved? Why are we thinking about things in that particular perspective? I believe that it's one that is absolutely critical. Asking questions and understanding the assumptions behind even the decisions and the indecisions we actually making is absolutely critical. I think let's take it a little bit deeper. I know initially we did talk about ambiguity. We're gonna think about that. So while we're thinking critically, Lauren, there are times where information we get is never the full picture. But we still need to make decisions. An average project manager is one who sits there and says, my project has to be delivered on time and on budget. I want to go with the information that has been signed in my project charter. However, there may be times where there are a lot of gray areas as well. How can we deal with these ambiguities that come up over and over? And how can we ensure that the decisions that we actually making will be one that will benefit the organizations overall?
So that's a great question. And I would have to say that ambiguity is part of every project, not every project only, every organization. So I would say, in my observations of probably the 700 plus project managers I've met over the years, 80% of them are good at ambiguity. Okay. And the other 20% are like, I do the same projects every time because I know how to do them. And when something comes up, I know the answer and I look great. So I know the answer and I feel really good about it. I feel confident. But us other 80ers out there, we like the meaty projects. We like the different composites of projects. Why? Because we like that ambiguity. So we actually, the key is when you're playing football, and so American football, and you catch the football, the best way to catch the football is bring it into you, right? Bring ambiguity into you, catch it and embrace it and figure out what you got. You got the football now. Okay, I need to run. Or, okay, this guy's going to tackle me. I need to fall, right? But you catch it. So you bring it in and you embrace the ambiguity. And I think one of the worst things a leader can do, whether it's a project leader or anybody, is to say, no, we're not going to deal with that because I don't understand it. Well, we're not going to understand things for the rest of our lives. So are we just going to turn away and say, no? Come on, people, let's get it together. Oh my gosh. So that's what we have to do is first we have to embrace the ambiguity, Fola, and be like, that's okay. We have the right people to find the problem. That's the key. We have the right people to find the problem. It's not you. You're facilitating finding the problem. Sometimes you'll be the one to find it, but you're there to facilitate it. And there's no better critical thinker than one that can bring everybody into the conversation and get them all talking and all curious about what a good solution can be.
Awesome. I think we need to dive into this. I love the fact that you just mentioned the fact that we need to embrace ambiguity, because the fact that we live, in this world, things are never going to be clear. It's never going to be black and white. I remember reading a book many years ago around embracing like the gray areas, because when you're dealing with people, there's always going to be change. When dealing with technology, there's always going to be change. And when these changes are happening, things are never going to be clear. And so for me as well, I have had to like leverage even tools, and a lot of like kind of virtualizing information always helps me. So if decisions have to be made, I want to gather as much data as possible. I want to be able to also like analyze to understand what the trends are, what the data points are, what exactly can we see from like past information to actually help. What else do you use? What kind of like tools or what kind of methods do you use like make decisions when you haven't really got a clear picture of what needs to happen?
Well, I like your example of the children asking the why question, right? So when a child's asking why, they're asking it at the most simple form. Well, why, mommy, right? And you've got the complex answer way over here, and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get from the simple question of my child asking why to the finishing to the complex answer of because it's really this, right? And it's no different when you're trying to synthesize data, okay? Because really, at the end of the day, when we've got ambiguity, it's just a bunch of data that's gotten confused, and we need to resort it and put it back into its puzzle pieces again. That's literally all ambiguity is really about, is resorting your data and turning it back into good information that we can then go and execute against. So I always say, let's go back to the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. And then we do step one of, does everybody understand where we got to? Because the journey is just as important as the destination, as we all know. So we have to figure out, where did we have our hiccups? Where did we have our trigger points that caused the next challenge, and then the next challenge, and the next challenge? And in some situations, it was like it showed up today because there was a hurricane and now, we're in crisis. Okay, that's a little bit different. But on the average situation, if we go back to the beginning and take the methodical steps of how we got to where we are today, not only will it remind everybody in the room where we're at, but it will also allow for, oh yeah, right, we did a misstep here, which caused a misstep there, which created, oh my gosh, it created this misstep. But if we don't take people back to the beginning to see the full picture of how we got to where we are, you're living in crisis mode the entire time. It's kind of like doing lessons learned in the moment, right? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, let's hop back to the beginning. Let's do this.
I think that review every single point in time, be it in a project state or just general day-to-day operations within an organization, is understanding the information that you have is one that's absolutely critical. And you mentioned about going back and doing lessons learned and like virtualizing that data to see what the trends are. So at times where you get the information and you want to make a decision, but there are people who are still not on board based on the data that you have. What exactly would you say are those kind of influencing skills as well, to say, this is kind of why we should be doing X. This is kind of why we need to take this decision to add, or reduce our budgets. How can we actually get these leaders who are like, no, things are still not clear, things are still ambiguous, it's going to cost X amount of exposure or whatever. How have you been able to convince senior leaders on a path to actually take when information isn't clear?
So I actually introduced VUCA to them, like I did at the beginning, where I'm explaining what VUCA is about and how you have to make a decision in order to get to the next stage, to the next step, to the next point. And once I explain that kind of storyline, and then also explain the risks of not making a decision and moving forward, and leave it in their hands. Ultimately, they're accountable. But if I can give them enough thoughtful suggestions as well as show the risk of awareness. That's all we can do as leaders, because we're not accountable. We're only responsible to inform.
And 100%, I think I love the fact that you just mentioned that we want to give them the right information to make the right decisions or whatever decisions they need to make. And that kind of comparative analysis where you can maybe compare information from time periods or maybe regions, or you bring in risk as well. For project managers or professionals who definitely want to elevate in their careers, it's about giving options, because the information that you have will never be 100%. But what options are you providing so that you yourself can be convinced and say, I'm going into a board meeting, right? But I want to be able to show them that, listen, if we take path A, it may actually cost us $1 million more. If we take, and then the risk of doing that may mean that we may, lose our social license or whatever that is. But you need to make sure that they have options, so that way, whatever decisions that are actually being made are one that they can say, yes, I can go back and say, that's actually okay. So comparative analysis, I think, is actually a good one. As well as that visualization, especially for senior leaders. People love that pictorial representations, right? When it's not clear, get some graphs out there. I see that has actually helped. You can say, this is where things are at. These are the bar charts. I don't know if that has actually helped you as well through your career, to say, like, having some pictorial representations that kind of shows kind of where we're at, where we want to get to, these are the risks. So that way they can actually make decisions. Or what else have you also found? I know that they have to make the decisions, but what else can you actually add? Because I know there's some questions already coming in around how can they get through to senior leaders as well, even when they're giving options as well. Is there anything else that you can pull off your decades of experience that can also help this crew?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you've kind of got three types of senior leaders. You got the ones that are engaged. You got the ones that pretend they're engaged, and you got the ones that really don't care. Okay, so you already got some mess. You already got some mess. Okay. And then of those leaders, what you have is those that are visual learners, those are textual learners, and those that are a combination of both, where they do analytical and visual, right? Like, so they need the text and they also need the picture. So I always provide overview materials where it's pictorial information, where you can see it and feel it from picture perspective for those leaders. And especially those are the left brain ones that really like to be very curious and like see all of the fun stuff. And then I send a document out in advance, which with the risk register and the different decision options in advance, right? And I'll use at times, not always, but at times I'll actually use like a risk tool to show, if you make this decision, these are the things that are going to crop up. And if you make this decision, these are the things going to crop up. There's lots of them out there that, they're brilliant. And so it allows for the right brain thinkers for their creative needs. It allows for the left brain thinkers who are very analytical, and it allows for us people in the middle. I'm a girl in the middle who I like good data, but show me a picture, help me visualize it, like bring me on the journey, right? Visually. And so that's what I use. And there's so many brilliant tools out there now where you can get slides to illustrate things in a really graphical perspective. So I always tell people, like, embrace something that somebody's already made, right? Like, somebody made a roadmap for this. I would love to put in my words on that roadmap and make it look beautiful, because I'm not artistic, but make something that allows both sides of those camps to be able to see everything. So important.
Yeah, I think that's great, because we need to get everyone on the same page. And so you, as a professional who definitely wants to stand out, you need to be one who probably even needs to hone your communication skills, because getting the data is fine, trying to understand it and then communicating that so that people can actually understand what exactly you're trying to say is another different ball game as well. So communication is another piece that, as a critical thinker, you go through, you say, this is kind of where we need to get to. You need to get the steps. You need to analyze, as you said, you need to visualize this. You need to get a data. You need to then take that information and share that in a way that leaders can actually understand. So when a question for you now is, in a situation where there is things are really not clear, you want to communicate a path forward, how do you balance structure, like a structure, like let's do step by step, to where you just say, no, we have to just, off the cuff, let's do it in a particular way? How do you kind of balance that where things are not really not clear? How do you strike a balance?
If I don't have a lot of time to create good representation of data, or I don't have a good clear picture of the data, I immediately go to my curious place of, why does this matter? Why? Okay, why did this happen? And just do the 7 whys to myself. And then I present out that information. Let's say like it's just happened. You gotta hop up to the executive team immediately. And you're like, I don't have all the answers, but I do know why this is this, this is this, this is this is this. Right. So still be as transparent as possible. And give as much quality data as possible. And then say, so here's the quality data, and here's the stuff we don't understand, the ambiguity. So it's sitting over here, but I'm still going to give it to you because maybe you know the answer, right? Like we're sometimes we forget that our executive leadership got there through a journey on their own right.
That's
allow them to be thoughtful.
Yeah. I think it's getting everyone on that journey together, where everyone understand that we have a goal. We all need to come on this train ride and get the solution that we actually want. But as you know, that life is never perfect. As you said, there are like 3 groups of people, executives, right? People who definitely want to be part of the change, they want to be supportive. But 9 times out of 10, not everyone gets that kind of leadership team, where there are also people where they really don't even care. And so PMs are kind of struggling. The leaders are like, so what exactly do we do in a situation where you have difficult stakeholders? In that situation, how have you really been able to deal with difficult situations and difficult stakeholders? And how have you been able to win them over, to your camp?
So I think winning people over is an art of itself. I think that could be like an entire course full of having those types of conversations. I believe that winning people over is all about the psychology of the person that you're dealing with. And I am without question not a psychology expert. And I think you might be able to even answer this a little bit better. But what I am good at is I'm good at reading people. I'm also very good at determining if somebody's telling me the truth or not. And the truth, as they say, will set you free. But as a project leader, I know you're not telling me the truth. I also can't call you out on it, right? Like I can only find as much data as I can to get to a good place. And I think that and I'm going to go off on this tangent just for a quick moment, that when we're not being given good data, and we know we're not being given good data, we have to go to other sources. We can't just get frustrated and angry with that person, because that's easy, right? I get angry at my husband all the time. It ain't no big deal. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to ask thoughtful questions and go to somewhere else, right? Continue to investigate and tell that person, thank you so much for the information. I'm going to continue down my path and talk to Bob, Cindy, and Jordan. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And then they will realize that they better figure out why they're not telling you the truth. Okay, so now we've got all the truth on the other side, and we look at how do we get those leaders in a place of support and engagement, is sort of what I think you were asking the question of. And like I said, you probably can answer this better than me, but I use my good old farm skills, and I just make everything simple. I try to make them always set up for success. I really respect their opinions. This is where active listening might be one of your most critical spots, is when you're trying to figure out who the person is and how to engage with them. Listen to the words that they use. Listen and watch the behaviors that they create when they're asking you questions, when they're responding to your curiosity, if you will, sometimes accusations almost, right? But ask those questions and pay attention and observe it, and then take that away and say, how am I going to work with this? Right? Like, I've got 80% of the people buying in, doing all this stuff. This person over here might be insecure because they're not as senior as the rest of the leaders. So they're going over the top with trying to act as though they know everything, or they're the hardest to deal with. And you just got to break it down. And sometimes it's not going to work because it's simply an emotional thing in their own worlds of which we can't manage. Right. And so sometimes we have to just say, that's not going to work. This one stakeholder, we're never going to get fully bought into, but we'll continue to try, right? We'll just continue to try to go down our path. But if you're not getting 80% of your senior leaders on board, you're not doing active listening properly, right? You're not giving them information properly that they want to see, that they care about. And that's all about you asking the right questions to understand what kind of information is important to them and how they like to see it.
This is a perfect segue for us to talk on to project lifestyle. When we think about life, business, and everything that we actually handling, it's all about decisions. When we think about critical thinking, we think about dealing with ambiguity. At the end of the day, we are making decisions every day. Even our indecisions are also decisions. And so for this actual segment, I want us to think about, how do we really make decisions every day? When you show up at work, when you're at home. And I love the fact that our leader, Lauren, has actually spoken about different ideas and different ways we can leverage that. Because when I sat down and I thought about this last night, I'm like, decisions, how can we really think about it as project leaders and leverage that in our personal life? I want to walk us through what I call, just like a step, which is actually broken down to what I call decide. For every step that we go through, we actually deciding to take action or maybe not to even do anything. The first step is define the decision. You need to clearly articulate the decision you need to make and understand the context and the objective and even any constraints that are actually involved. And so you think about the day-to-day life, even my trip that I had to plan coming over. I'm like, do I need to take that speaking engagement? How do I plan my time with family? I had to think about it. I had to think about what options do I have. Then I had to examine that, which is the E. The D first is define the decision. The E is to examine the information you have. So collect, gather data. Get the facts, not assumptions. Because the steps we're going to go through, that's the next one about assumptions. But you need to ensure that you get insights before you make decisions. You need to ensure that the sources that you're getting the data from are definitely reliable. So remember, define the decision, examine the information you have, and look for different data points, and then challenge your assumptions. I'm going to be coming to Lauren very soon. When we think about that is, for every decision we make, there's always something behind our minds to say, is this based on assumption that, for instance, you make a decision because you want to buy a new home, interest rates are probably going up skyrocketing now, but you feel it might be a good time to do it because maybe interest rates might be going higher, or you feel property prices might be going higher. But what are the assumptions you're making? You need to ensure that you identify that and identify any potential biases that may influence the decisions. That's the C. The I is to investigate the options. What options have you got? Even at home, even at work, before you show up, you think, what are the options that are available? They need to deliberate on the pros and the cons. What are the positive? Lauren has spoken about evaluating the risk. These are absolutely critical. What exactly are the exposures? What are going to be the impact if I go this particular way, if I take that decision? And the E is what evaluate the risk and uncertainty. So how do you make decisions? How do you decide every single day? Are you one who just kind of shows up and says, I'm going to take it on anyway? Or you're going to want to say, I'm going to critically evaluate this and say, what exactly are my options? What is vague? And what exactly do I need to do to ensure that I make the right decisions? Well, what do you think about decision making overall? How do you make decisions? And how do you leverage that even in your personal life?
Great question. So for me, decision making is broken down into three things. A decision is either an easy answer, and I don't want to do it because I don't like the answer. And then there's the unknown answer where we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And then there's the right answer. And we're ready to do. We're ready to rock and roll. So I would like us to sit with the easy answer first. When you sit with the easy answer and you're like, I know what the answer is, I just don't want to do it. Like, what is that behavior within you that causes you to react that way, where it's like, oh my gosh, it's just such an easy answer. There's no way that could be the solution to our problem, because it was so complex. And so you have to actually do some self-counseling and say, sometimes the easy answer is the right answer, and let's just do it, right? Like, don't be afraid to step it forward and VUCA the crap out it and just do it. Yes, we're going to do it, and we're going to get to the next step. So always be cautious of the easy answer, and when you don't want to do the easy answer because you're like, that came too easy, there's no way it's the right answer. Okay, we'll figure it out. But make sure that you're very self-aware of your responses to coming to conclusions on decisions, because the decision's for the greater group. It's not for you. If the answer to the decision is not for you, it's for you to support and get it going. We always seem to forget that, right? We always take on too much passion and too much energy that is like, but I know the answer, so just let me run with it. Nope, that's not for us to do, okay? So if we think about the unknown answer, that's where we're like, we need to break it down, and we just need to get to that decision. And so often what I will do is I will go to my team and I'll be like, hey, everybody, like, I don't have an answer here for you. We've already done our step back from the beginning. You know, we've done our journey view. We've done our 7 whys, and we're still coming up hot. Like nothing's sitting for us. So I actually say, hey, like, you know what, go out for a walk, go to the gym, go for dinner, whatever it is that you do to really embrace like the freedom of your mind. And I would love for you to come back tomorrow, and let's just like throw things against the wall. And let's get to that decision by the end of day tomorrow. And I actually create a deadline for making the decision, even the fear of not knowing if I've got the data. But because you do that, everybody just steps up just that extra ounce more, and they're like, hey, yeah, we have to make the decision. It has to happen. We don't have the luxury to wait. And it changes behaviors, and it allows people to be like, okay, like, we're going to come up with the best thing that we've got right now. I don't know if that was helpful.
No, that was, because everyone has got different decision-making style. But I think overall, you've hit very, very good points, because you've spoken about bringing the teams together, giving them options, putting timelines, where you say we have to make it by setting particular time. And so everyone has to go back and say, it doesn't matter what happens. Let's go and rethink this and come back with a solution. But one of my key questions I always want to wrap up the show with, because it's definitely been great fun, is you have moved and broken the barrier as a project professional, because you've managed projects and you've been able to move to senior leadership. What do you think is the number one challenge that project professionals face moving up, and how can they overcome that?
Oh, wow. I think with all of the attention on diversity, and we're just echoing a bit here. Sorry. Thank you. I think with all the focus on diversity and inclusion, my original answer, if you would ask me 3 years ago, Fola, would have been because I'm a female, because I'm a blonde with long hair, right? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm kryptonite for for Superman and all the super projects in the world. And I had to work very hard to establish who I was, because I was a female in a very male-dominant environment. So, but that's evolving, and I'm so proud of our industry, and I'm so proud of our discipline for creating better awareness of the inclusion of anybody and everybody to just be great at what they do. If I look back early on in my career, because I do see some questions about, you know, how does a young person influence? It all comes back to listening a lot, right? Like, so the number one thing that was a challenge for me was I wanted to get there really fast, right? Like, I wanted to get there fast, and I wasn't ready all the time. So I made mistakes. Oh my gosh. Did I make a boatload of mistakes? And now I feel like I don't make as many mistakes as I do make course corrections, right? The mistakes aren't as deep. The wounds don't have as many stitches on them, if you will. And so so I would just jump as fast as I could to show how eager I was, how efficient I was, how ready, how team player I was, without sitting back and hearing the full picture. And it goes back to that very beginning when I'm talking about active listening and critical thinking. So to answer your question, my biggest challenge was I tried to move too fast, right? Without listening and without thinking. I just wanted to show them that I was ready, like I was it, like say hello to me. And now I realize that my greatest quality is listening and getting everybody else to be like, whoa, that is not what was said here, you guys. Like, did you hear what was said? That is not what was said. Come on, everybody. Let's dig in. Like, let's look at this wholesomely. Let's respect the entire audience for what they're trying to contribute. So that's it in a nutshell for me.
That's time for questions and answers from our studio audience. So we have a question. This is our Q&A segment. So we have a question. I know one came in originally before we had actually addressed that. Question for you is, how have you been able to overcome change through your career?
Yeah. Sorry, gentlemen, you're not going to like this answer. I think women actually are stronger at change, mostly because we've been constantly thrown into change boxes our entire lives. And so it's more natural for us to be like, okay, well, so this is what we're going to do now. Let's move forward. I also have been a person with entrepreneurial spirit my entire life. I grew up on a farm, and I mean, a hailstorm would come and remove the entire field of grain. And then what do we do now? So I always had those challenges growing up and watching my parents go through it and work through it, and always having a level head. I think the key to change is when you're getting upset because something's impacting your values, or you're nervous, or you're anxious, right? And I've done a lot of business coaching. My business coach is brilliant. Where I actually now, I don't get worked up over things. I'm like, okay, so why am I feeling uncomfortable? I'm feeling uncomfortable because I don't know what's behind that door. But why should I be afraid of that door? The question, instead of saying, why are we embracing change, is more, what are we afraid of behind the door of change? Because what we get out of it is so powerful. Like, we strengthen our skills, we strengthen our experiences, we strengthen our relationships, we meet so many new people. Every single time you change, you're going to meet at least one new person. Every single time you change, you're going to get one new skill set. So the resiliency of change isn't when you're in it, it's after you've contributed to the change. That's where the real resiliency comes.
I love it. I think change is the only constant thing in life. And the earlier you embrace it, the earlier you're actually going to grow. There's nothing that we definitely want that sits, on the side of our comfort zone. We always have to step out and just try. What if, the what if analysis? What if things go well? What if things don't actually go well? But you're going to learn through that journey. You're going to get something, and you're going to become even way, way better. I love the fact that Sarah just said something about splitting the difference. Our final question, because we've actually run out of time, is through your career, I know you said that you've actually moved up really fast. You wanted to do that. What lessons have you actually learned that can help a young professional who wants to move up their career?
So if we look at maybe I'll just take you on the career path. And we're just echoing again. I'm so sorry. I think it's my fault. Thank you. I think if we look at the career path of that of a project manager, really quickly, I'm just going to draw out a really quick map. So you start out as a project coordinator or a subject matter expert, or as me, a developer or a BA, and then you fall into project management. Or it's intentional, but we're at the project manager phase now. And we're like, okay, I want to become a senior project manager. I want to become a program manager. I want to become a portfolio manager. the key to all of those things is learning, obviously. Like, I'm not teaching you something new, but you have to learn the skills. You have to become adaptable to skill sets. You have to be a strong facilitator, a good listener. But most importantly, one of the key things in order for me to have jumped from project manager basically to program manager almost overnight was I never, ever burnt a bridge. I never, ever disrespected another person's opinion unless they fully disrespected my opinion. Because we still have to have our own brand, our own reputation. So we still have to stand up for ourselves. Like, I always stand up for myself. Ask my husband. But we have to stand up for ourselves, but we have to respect the other person's opinion. So as long as you never burn that bridge, you will always be seen as the person that's willing to dig deeper and fight harder for the better good of the project, for the better good of the organization. And I think that's really critical for people these days, because there's so much movement where you hop from one organization to another, trying to find the perfect fit. Before you hop, make sure you're not burning a bridge. Before you transition out of a project into another project, make sure you're not burning a bridge, right? Like, tie the bow every single time at the end, so that when they say, oh yeah, I worked with that Laurel, and you know what? She left us early, but she didn't leave us hanging. That's the key. That's the key.
I love it. She left us early, but didn't leave us hanging. I think that's a key one we need to run away with today. As a project manager, as an accountant, as a BA, whatever role you actually have, it's about digging deeper. It's about building relationships. It's about ensuring that you have the tools, the skill sets to help you make great decisions, as well as provide the tools so senior leaders can actually make better decisions as well. So challenge is, what options are you giving your clients? What options are you giving senior leaders as well? How are you seen and perceived in the organization? Are you one who ensures that you dig deep? Or you want to see things just on the very surface? I love the fact that learners actually said, make sure you tie a bow at the end. After every meeting, after every stakeholder engagement, they look back and they say, goodness, it was a tough one. But I know that because Laura was part of that conversation. We did the best we could. Layla was there. Dakota was there. And so we did this and we put our best foot forward. Goodness, it's been so awesome to have you. We can go on and on. I know I told you that we connect in so many levels. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here today. But I want people to know, how can they connect with you? And how can they get to know more about what you do and your services as well? Can you throw some more light into that, please?
Wonderful. Well, first off, thank you so much. It's been a true pleasure. I'm always happy to connect on LinkedIn. I even take on mentors throughout the year. So I always have 3 to 5 mentors throughout the year, in all ages, all career paths. So mentors are important. So find one. If I resonate with you, feel free to reach out. It's a free service that I do to contribute back to the community. And then Taleo Project Services, we've got a little over 100 people on our team, and we work throughout Canada. So that's a big part of what I contribute to every single day. We work in 12 different industries, but I myself have worked in 17. That's another great way to grow your experience and grow who you are, is working in different experiences. Don't be afraid, by the way. And then lastly, I do a podcast like yourself with Ed Hoffman, who's the past Chief Knowledge Officer of NASA. And it's called The Mission Driven Leader. And we just talk about good leadership and how to show up and take pride in yourself every day. And that's it. That's all.
Fantastic. That's actually not all. You do so much. You give back and you support other project professionals. I want to say thank you for that. But this couldn't have been possible because we had Sarah right listening. We had Emmett. We had Dayata. We had Layla. We had Emmett. We had Sarah, Edwin, Dr. Constantius. Thank you so much all for being here. But what I always say with everything, we always want to be better. Let's know, was there something that resonated with you? Let us know that in the comment. Was it a one line? Was it the side? Was it about how we've been able to walk through challenging situations? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments one key takeaway that you're going to be running away with to definitely help elevate your career, your business, in your life. I want to say thank you for spending your Saturday with me. And I cannot wait to definitely share your successes as well as come back and give you even a bit more. But let me know in the comments. But what I always say is, you are your life's project manager. Make your life's project count. I cannot wait to see you same time next week, another episode on the Strategic Project Leader podcast. Thank you so much once again, Laura. Thank you so much for everyone who actually joined. But let me know in the comments what you took away from this. I love to end with this particular quote. Jeff Bezos always says that he wants to put a ding in the universe. But I am a leader who wants to bring everyone together because we can make a positive dent in the universe together. So see you, stay safe. I'm going to try to enjoy the sunshine. Let me know also what you're going to be doing today. It's 46 degrees. I cannot wait to go out after my meeting to continue and enjoying my time away from Canada. So see you same time next week. And thank you so much for being here. I know it was a bit of a hard time, but it was definitely awesome. Thank you all.